Well, once again, I'm here talking about another book that I just finished reading. Okay, well, I've read many books on the African American experience, Black history. People call it African American history, African history. It was just, it was a love of mine that I really, studied doing it in my 20s, teens. I basically read everything on the subject. In the past 10 years, I've really been wanting to get into new things, get into other cultures. I've been reading a lot about Indian history and even European history, ancient European history. I didn't know too much about that. Um, Asian history, So the past 10 years I've been really learning about that. I'm really hooked on Indian history for some reason. And I only knew one Indian person in my whole life, but for some reason I'm just on that. But I was in a library, and this is to my son, which is my Monday. Today is Thursday, August 2nd. Was in the library and I came up on this book, H. Rap Brown, Die, Nigger Die. Die, N-word, die. And it's called The Political Autobiography of H. Rap Brown. I've been wanting to read this book for years. I've been saying, man, I'm going to order it. I really want to know what it's about. And first of all, give you some history. I went to school from kindergarten to 12th, and I did 4.5 years of university, got my bachelor's, and in no class have I ever heard this man's name. I found out about this man. This guy was sitting on the corner in New Orleans, and I used to always have books with me, and he was telling me about H. Rap Brown. He's from Baton Rouge, you know. And this guy was just telling me that he knew him growing up. And I was like, who is that H. Rap Brown? Maybe heard the name in passing, but I've never heard anything about him. Right now, he's in the penitentiary right now at the age of 74. He was locked up in 2002 over something they claim he hasn't done. They claim he shot at 2 police officers, but he said it wasn't him. So I don't know the specifics of the case, so I can't say that, that they're railroading him or they have him right or whatever. But I mean, based upon this book, and like I said, this book was written when he was in his early 20s. So this book was written in 1969. But never, if you've ever heard of Rap Brown in school, leave me a comment and let me know, because I have never, I heard about Huey P. Newton in school. Had a teacher one time. If you don't know who Huey Newton is, Google him. And she was telling me that he was born in Oakland, California, but I knew a lot about Huey Newton from my dad, who was very interested in the Black Panther Party. And he was born in Louisiana, actually. His family moved to Oakland, California as a child. And this teacher just argued me down about that. I'll never forget that. She told me she had a PhD and all, and I'm like, you didn't know that? So, this was before you could Google things and all, So, it's a lot of things. George Jackson, Jonathan Jackson. I found out about them. I was in a library one time reading about it, and this lady came up to me. I never seen her again. Maybe she was an angel or something. Real light-skinned lady. And she kind of guided me through it, And I had a really good teacher at Dillard named Dr. Coulon that really, he went into the Panthers and, what they meant, Eldridge Cleaver and all that. It's a shame that the black community have totally turned their backs on these people too, because nowadays we have no excuse. We should be honoring these people just like we honor Martin Luther King, And this is just my opinion that these are the kind of people with the rhetoric they were talking. that actually got America to say, you know what, hey, let's listen to the more moderate people because these guys are going to destroy the country, you know. So, but there was one passage in here that really summed it up for me. And he talks about the civil rights movement, which I call so-called, because I always say it was a human rights movement that got hijacked by different forces, you know, liberal forces. It wasn't about integration. It was about, you know, human rights and freedom. But he explains it here good. He says, a lot of people, black and white, have the impression that those of us who got involved in the movement when it started in 1960 were fighting for integration. That's the way the white press interpreted the sit-ins and freedom rides and all of that. But what they didn't understand was that none of us was concerned about sitting down next to a white man and eating a hamburger. Anybody who thinks that is reflecting white nationalism. That's what the white supremacist, that's the white supremacist attitude. Nothing is good unless it can be done in the company of white people. We would have been some kind of fools to get beaten up, spat on, and jailed the way a lot of folks did just to sit down at a lunch counter besides a white person. Integration was never our concern. In fact, integration is impractical. You cannot legislate an attitude, and integration is based upon an attitude of mutual acceptance and respect between two racial or cultural groups in the society. Same thing with friendship, but that's another story. A law can govern behavior, but attitudes cannot be forced or enforced. And what the so-called civil rights movement was concerned with was controlling the animalistic behavior of white people. I resented somebody telling me I couldn't eat at a certain place. It wasn't that I wanted to eat there. Hell no, I always knew we had the best food anyway. But as part of that constant battle waged by black people against white America, if white folks didn't want me to eat there, in the door I went. If I had a free choice, I'd sit in the back of the bus anyway. That's where the heat is. We weren't fighting for integration. We were letting white folks know that they could no longer legislate where we went or what we did. And a quick tip to you, if you want people to do something, don't ever ban them. Because it just makes it more. It's just like drugs. Or they're talking about marijuana now. If they legalize marijuana, people will stop smoking it. Just like alcohol, because alcohol was illegal at one time. It wouldn't be a big thing. You would still have people doing it, but it wouldn't be such a big thing. That's why now you're having people that are just self-segregating, because it wasn't really about integration. It was just that I should have the right to. But back to the book. He goes on and he talks about, different issues that he had growing up. I mean, this guy was a son of a mother. he was awful, And like I say, this was written by a 23-year-old, 24-year-old man. So, he eventually, they say he wrote another book in 1993 and he matured a lot. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he wouldn't talk like this, because this is just some revolutionary stuff, But it's needed, It's a free country, and anytime people feel like they're not getting a fair shake and they're not part of society, this is what you're gonna get. It's a reminder. Anytime when you isolate people and you put them out your society, they're gonna come back and try to destroy it. If they don't feel a part of it, they're gonna come destroy it. It's just simple as that. And that's anywhere all over the world. You create something in society, these people are not a part of it, they don't have one of their own, they're gonna come destroy yours. So, and it's a lot of, it was a pretty good book though. I mean, I sat down and I read it in one day, because I always was interested in H. Rap Brown. It's a few of his speeches are on the internet, on YouTube I've seen, but these were the guys, in my opinion, these were the guys, that they started saying, okay, no, we can't have people listening to these guys. We got to start making music. We got to start making rap music. We got to start, I had a barber tell me one time that was why, all of the big urban areas got football teams and baseball teams and basketball teams because they wanted people. This what people were doing, you know, and the drugs. They say that this time in the 70s they started pumping drugs into the mainly black community because they started talking like the young people were talking like this. The young people were talking about totally just taking over the country or just dying in order to do it, you know. Liberty or death, you know. And when people are doing drugs and getting high, they're not really in that frame of mind. So, but definitely, if you're interested in African American history, you know, I haven't seen this book reviewed on YouTube. You know, I think everybody should read this book. You know, it's coming from a different place. You know, a lot of the stuff that he's talking about now has been resolved, and it don't even matter. But his core, that anger, that core feeling, is still there because we still having riots. You know, he's still talking about police brutality. Same thing. You know, this book, and I think the next one I'm going to read is Angela Davis's autobiography because I think I read that when I was very young, but you know, a lot of these books I'm coming back to in my little old age. So check it out though, man. H. Rap Brown. Peace.